I was folding laundry in my bedroom when my phone rang. My son's name flashed across the screen, and I answered with a smile, expecting him to tell me about his weekend plans or ask about Sunday dinner. Instead, what came out of his mouth made my hands go still over the warm cotton sheets. "Mom, I need to ask you something," Derek said. His voice had that careful tone, the one he used when he wanted to avoid confrontation. "What is it, honey?" "So, Madison and I have been planning the wedding." "Of course, I've been waiting for my invitation." I kept my voice light, but something cold was already spreading through my chest. "Yeah, about that." He paused. I heard a woman's voice in the background, sharp and insistent. "Madison thinks it would be better if we kept it small, really small, just close friends and family." "I am family, Derek. I'm your mother." Another pause. Then Madison's voice came on the line, clear and cruel. "Mrs. Patterson, we already got married last weekend. A courthouse thing. We only invited people who would look good in photos. You understand, right? It's about the aesthetic." I stood there in my bedroom, holding my phone like it was a foreign object. The laundry basket sat at my feet, half empty. Outside, I could hear neighborhood kids playing basketball in someone's driveway. Everything looked normal. Everything felt like the ground had opened beneath me. They had gotten married without me, my only son, the boy I raised alone after his father walked out when Derek was 3, the child I worked double shifts for, sacrificed my 30s for, poured every dollar and dream into, and he had married that woman in secret because I wasn't pretty enough for their photos. I walked to my mirror and looked at myself. 62 years old. Grey hair I kept short and practical. Lines around my eyes from years of smiling through exhaustion. Hands rough from cleaning houses before I built my property business. I had never been beautiful, not by magazine standards, but I had been strong. I had been enough. Until now. I sat on my bed and allowed myself exactly 5 minutes to feel the pain. 5 minutes to let the betrayal cut through me like broken glass. Then I stood up, smoothed my shirt, and walked to my home office. My computer hummed to life. I opened my files, the ones containing every property deed, every business license, every bank account I had built over 40 years. I had 12 rental properties scattered across 3 counties. I owned a small strip mall on the edge of town. I held mortgages on buildings that people thought belonged to other companies, shell corporations I had set up for tax purposes. Derek knew I had property. He didn't know how much. He didn't know about the web of investments and holdings I had carefully constructed. He thought his mother was a landlady with a few rentals, nothing more. Madison thought I was a poor old woman who cleaned houses for a living, because that's what I did when I met her 5 years ago. She never bothered to learn more. I pulled up my son's file. Yes, I kept files on my children, on anyone close to me. Information was currency, and I never spent it foolishly. Derek worked as a loan officer at a small bank. His salary was decent but not impressive. Madison was a social media consultant, whatever that meant. She took photos and posted them online and called it work. Together, they made enough to rent a nice apartment and lease cars they couldn't afford. They had been planning a big wedding, or so Derek had told me. $50,000, maybe more. They were going to ask me to help pay for it. I'd already set aside the money, ready to contribute despite knowing that Madison would take credit for every detail. But they had cut me out instead. Married in secret. Invited people who looked good in photos. I opened a new document and began to type. My phone rang 2 hours later. Derek's name again. I let it go to voicemail. He called 3 more times that evening. I ignored each one. Finally, he sent a text. "Mum, Madison didn't mean it like that. She was joking. Can we talk?" I responded with 3 words. "Not right now." The next morning, I drove to see my lawyer, Tom Foster. He had handled my business affairs for 20 years and knew every corner of my financial life. His office was in an old building downtown. the kind with marble floors and wood paneling that spoke of money and tradition. "Helen," he said, standing when his secretary showed me in. "What brings you here?" "I need to review my will," I said, "and I need to make some changes to how my properties are structured." Tom gestured to a chair. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine. I just need to be more careful about my legacy." We spent 3 hours going through documents. I changed beneficiaries, added conditions, restructured trusts. When we finished, Tom looked at me with something like concern. "Helen, this is very specific, very protective. Are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything." I drove home and found Derek's car in my driveway. He was sitting on my front steps, his head in his hands. When he heard my car, he stood up quickly, his face hopeful and desperate at the same time. "Mom, please, I'm sorry. Madison was out of line." I walked past him and unlocked my front door. "You can come in." He followed me into the kitchen, where I poured myself coffee and didn't offer him any. He stood by the counter, shifting his weight like a guilty child. "It wasn't supposed to happen like that," he said. "We were going to do a bigger ceremony later and invite everyone. The courthouse thing was just for legal reasons." "Legal reasons?" I repeated. "What legal reasons?" "Madison's insurance. She needed to be on my plan." "You could have told me." "I know, I should have." He looked at the floor. "But she said it would be easier this way, and I didn't want to fight with her. So you fought with me instead by not inviting me at all." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Derek? Explain to me how excluding your mother from your wedding was anything other than what it was." He had no answer. We stood in silence for a long moment, the coffee maker gurgling in the background. "Madison wants to apologize," he finally said. "She wants to have dinner with you, the 3 of us." "No." "Mum, come on." I said no, I need time to think. "Think about what?" "About what matters to me. About who matters to me." Derek's face went pale. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm tired, Derek. Go home." He left, and I sat alone in my kitchen, drinking coffee and planning. The hurt was still there, a constant ache in my chest. But beneath it, something else was growing, something cold and patient and very, very careful. 3 days later, Derek called again. His voice was strained, higher pitched than normal. "Mom, we need to talk. It's important." "I'm listening." "Not on the phone. Can I come over?" "No. Say what you need to say." He hesitated. "The landlord is selling our building. We have to move out in 60 days. I sipped my tea and looked out my kitchen window at the bird feeder I had hung last spring. A cardinal was pecking at the seeds, bright red against the grey morning sky. "That's unfortunate," I said. "Mom, I need help. We've been looking, but everything in our price range is either too far from my work or in bad areas." "Have you tried looking harder?" "We've been looking for weeks. Please, Mom, I know you have rentals. Don't you have anything available?" I did. I had a beautiful 2-bedroom unit in a new building, just 10 minutes from Derek's bank. Market rate was $1,800 a month, but I could have given it to him for $1,500, even less. It had granite counters and new appliances and a view of the park. "I don't have anything suitable," I lied. "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. My properties are all occupied or being renovated." "Mum, this is me, your son. You're really going to let us struggle because Madison said something stupid?" "I'm not letting you do anything. I'm simply not in a position to help right now. You're a grown man with a job and a wife. Figure it out." "I can't believe you're being like this." "And I couldn't believe you got married without me. I suppose we're even." I hung up before he could respond. The truth was, I had started making calls the day after Derek first came to my house. I owned that building he was being evicted from, through one of my shell companies. The landlord he thought was selling wasn't selling at all. I had simply instructed my property manager to issue notices to all the tenants, claiming the building was being converted to condos. It wasn't. But Derek didn't need to know that. I also made calls to my contacts in the rental market, property managers who owed me favors, landlords who valued my business. I let it be known that my son and his wife were difficult tenants, slow payers, people to avoid. I didn't lie exactly. I just suggested. People filled in the blanks themselves. 2 weeks passed. Derek called me every other day, each time more desperate than the last. They had looked at 30 apartments. Every application was rejected. They didn't understand why. Derek's credit was good. Madison's parents had offered to co-sign. But somehow, it was never enough. "It's like someone blacklisted us," Derek said on one call. He sounded exhausted. "The property managers won't even tell us why we're being rejected." "Maybe you're applying for places above your means," I suggested. "We're not. We've lowered our budget twice. Mum, we're looking at studios now. Madison is losing her mind. I'm sure something will work out. Will you at least ask around? Use your connections? I'll see what I can do." I did nothing. Their moving deadline arrived. Derek called me at 6 a.m, his voice cracking. "Mom, we're out. We have nowhere to go. The movers are coming in 4 hours, and we don't have an address to give them." "What about Madison's parents?" "They live in a retirement community. No guests allowed for more than 2 weeks." "Hotels exist." "We can't afford a hotel for more than a few days, not with storage fees and everything else. Please, Mom, I'm begging you. Just a month. We'll pay rent. We'll stay out of your way." I let the silence stretch, let him hear his own desperation echoing back. Then I said, "You can stay in my spare room, 1 month, $1,200, and you follow my rules." "Thank you. Oh God, thank you. We'll be there this afternoon." "No, Madison stays somewhere else. You can stay here. She can figure out her own arrangements." "Mom, that's not fair." "Those are my terms. Take them or leave them." Another long pause. "I'll call you back." He did 20 minutes later. "Okay. Madison is going to stay with a friend. I'll be there at 2. "Fine." I hung up and smiled. Not a happy smile. Something else. Something sharp. Derek arrived at 2:30 with a truck full of boxes and furniture. I met him at the door and pointed to the garage. "Everything goes in storage except one suitcase. The spare room has a bed and a dresser. That's all you need." "Mom, where are we supposed to put everything?" "Storage facility on Route 9. I have an account there. You can use it. $300 a month." $300? His face was red, sweaty from moving boxes. "That's on top of rent?" "That's business. Take it or leave it." He took it. For the next week, Derek lived in my spare room like a ghost. He left early for work and came home late. We barely spoke. When we did, it was transactional. "Where's the coffee? Did you pay the internet bill? When is trash day?" Madison called him constantly. I could hear her voice through his phone, shrill and angry. She blamed him for the situation, blamed me, blamed the universe. She was staying on a friend's couch in a bad part of town, and she hated every minute of it. "Maybe you should go stay with her," I suggested one evening when Derek looked particularly miserable. "Her friend only has a 1-bedroom. There's no space for me." "Then maybe Madison should try harder to find space." He looked at me with something like realization. "You're enjoying this?" "I'm not enjoying anything. I'm simply letting you experience the consequences of your choices." "You're punishing me because Madison was rude." "No, Derek. I'm teaching you that actions matter, that words matter, that how you treat people matters." "This is insane. You're my mother." "Exactly. I'm your mother. And you forgot that when you decided I wasn't pretty enough to stand in your wedding photos." He had no response to that. He went to his room and closed the door. The next day, I made another call, this one to a friend who managed a social media marketing firm in the city. Madison had been trying to get hired there for months, constantly emailing her portfolio and references. My friend had been considering her. "Don't hire Madison Spencer," I said. "Trust me on this." "Can you tell me why?" "She's unreliable. Unprofessional. You'll regret it. Good to know. Thanks for the heads up. 2 days later, Madison was rejected from the job. Derek mentioned it at dinner, his voice flat with defeat. She was so sure she had it. They had called her for 3 interviews. Then they just ghosted her. That's unfortunate, I said, cutting my chicken. This economy is tough. Everything is falling apart, Mum. Everything. Our apartment, her job prospects, our savings are getting demolished by storage and rent. I don't understand how this is all happening at once. Bad luck, I suppose. He stared at me. Is it? Is it bad luck? What else would it be? He didn't answer, but his eyes held suspicion now, a dawning awareness that maybe, just maybe, his mother was not the helpless old woman he had dismissed. Good. Let him wonder. 3 weeks into Derek's stay at my house, Madison showed up unannounced. I was in my garden, pruning roses, when her car pulled into my driveway. She got out wearing designer sunglasses and a dress that cost more than my monthly utility bill. Helen, she said, walking toward me with her phone already in her hand, ready to document everything for her followers. We need to talk. We don't need to do anything. This is my property. Leave. I'm Derek's wife. I have a right to see him. Derek is at work. You can see him somewhere else. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to destroy us? I set down my shears and looked at her. Really looked at her. She was 28, beautiful in that manufactured way that required constant maintenance. Perfect hair, perfect skin, perfect clothes. Everything designed to project success she hadn't earned. I'm not destroying anything, I said. I'm simply not helping you. There's a difference. You're blackballing us from apartments. I know you are. Every property manager in this town suddenly has a reason not to rent to us. That's not coincidence. Prove it. I can't, and you know I can't. But I'm not stupid, Helen. You have connections. You've been making calls. Even if I had, so what? Property owners have the right to rent to whoever they choose. Maybe they chose not to rent to you because you're not desirable tenants. We have perfect credit. Credit isn't everything. Character matters too. Her face flushed red. You're a bitter old woman who can't stand that your son chose me. I don't care who he chose. I care that he chose to exclude me from his life because you told him I wasn't pretty enough for your Instagram feed. That was a joke. It wasn't funny. You're really going to hold a grudge forever because of one comment? It wasn't one comment, Madison. It was a choice. You both chose to get married without me because I didn't fit your aesthetic, so now I'm choosing not to make your life easier. Seems fair. This is abuse. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Abuse? You want to talk about abuse? I was abused by my husband for 5 years before I left him with nothing but a 3-year-old and $50 in my pocket. I worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads. I scrubbed toilets so Derek could have school supplies. And I did it all alone because nobody helped me. Nobody offered me apartments or money or second chances. So, don't talk to me about abuse because you have to suffer a little bit of inconvenience. She took a step back. Derek deserves better than this. You're right, he does. He deserves a mother who loves him enough to teach him consequences. He deserves to learn that how he treats people matters. You're sick. I'm clear-minded for the first time in years. Now get off my property before I call the police for trespassing. She left, her designer heels clicking angrily on my driveway. I watched her go and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Just cold certainty that I was doing what needed to be done. That night, Derek confronted me. Madison said you threatened her. I did no such thing. I asked her to leave my property. That's not a threat, that's a boundary. She said you admitted to blackballing us from apartments. I admitted nothing. I suggested that maybe property owners are making decisions based on character. Is your wife's character above reproach? Stop it. Just stop. Why are you doing this? I'm not doing anything except living my life and making my own choices, just like you did when you got married without me. That was one mistake. Yes, and you're living with the consequences. These aren't consequences. This is revenge. Call it whatever helps you sleep at night. Derek grabbed his jacket. I'm going to stay with Madison tonight, at her friend's place. We'll figure something out. Okay. That's it. Just okay. You're an adult. Make your choices. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I sat in my living room, listening to the house settle around me. Empty and quiet. Good. Derek didn't come back that night or the next. A week passed, then 2. He still paid rent on the room, still had his things in my garage, but he stayed away. I knew he was sleeping on floors, in his car sometimes, bouncing between friends who were tired of housing them. I knew because I had people watching. Property managers who reported back. Business owners who saw him looking rough around the edges, his clothes wrinkled, his face gaunt. My lawyer called me. Helen, I heard Derek is having some trouble. Derek is an adult. He's also your son. Which is why I'm doing this. He needs to learn. Learn what, exactly? That his choices have weight, that he can't just float through life taking people for granted. Tom sighed. Just be careful. This kind of thing can backfire. I'm always careful. I was. Every move was calculated, every pressure point carefully applied. I wasn't acting out of emotion anymore. This was strategy, business, a long game I intended to win. Month 2 of their housing crisis arrived. Derek finally called me, his voice so tired it was almost a whisper. Mom, we found a place, outside the city, 45 minutes from my work. It's all we could get. Congratulations. It's a basement apartment, no windows. It smells like mold. At least it's shelter. The rent is $2,000 a month for a basement. Market rates vary. I'm asking one more time. Please help us. I'll do anything. We'll apologize publicly. We'll make it right. Just please stop whatever you're doing. I'm not doing anything, Derek. The market is what it is. Liar. The word came out sharp, almost a sob. You're lying, and we both know it. Prove it. Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Enjoy your new apartment. I hung up and poured myself tea. Outside, snow was starting to fall, the first of the season. I watched it drift past my window and thought about nothing at all. The basement apartment broke them faster than I expected. Within 3 weeks, Madison was posting increasingly desperate content on her social media. Photos of her cozy new space that couldn't hide the water stains on the walls. Inspirational quotes about resilience that rang hollow. Her follower count dropped by 30%, though she didn't seem to notice or care. She only cared about her image. The facade was all that mattered to her. When the pictures stopped getting the reactions she expected, she started editing them with filters, and when that didn't work, she began posting quotes, words of wisdom about strength, overcoming hardship, and staying positive. Yet, behind those posts, the cracks in her life were becoming uncomfortably visible. At first, I wanted to warn Derek, but I couldn't. He was too far gone. I was just a mother, observing helplessly as the relationship between him and Madison morphed into something unrecognizable, something toxic. I had spent years watching Derek grow into a young man of ambition, drive, and purpose. And in just a few months, I watched him deteriorate. He wasn't the person I had raised him to be. Somewhere, somehow, Madison had chipped away at the man he used to be, leaving only fragments of what had once been so promising. I didn't know how much longer he could hold on. Derek started showing up late to work. I knew because I knew the bank manager, had for years. She called me as a courtesy. Helen, I don't know what's going on with Derek, but he's not himself. He's missing deadlines, showing up looking like he slept in his car. Should I be concerned? She asked, her voice laced with professional concern. I could hear the pity in her voice, and that only made it worse. I didn't want pity. I didn't want any of this. He's going through a rough patch. Give him some time, I replied, trying to mask the frustration. I wanted to tell her the truth, to scream that my son was unraveling before my eyes, but I couldn't. I can't give him too much time, Helen. This is a business. I know, I replied quietly. Do what you need to do. She put him on probation 2 days later. It wasn't a surprise. I had been expecting it. Derek had changed, and everyone around him was beginning to notice. Derek called me that night, crying. Actually crying. I could hear it in his voice, the desperation, the fear, the sound of a grown man on the brink of collapse. They're going to fire me, Mom. I can't lose this job. If I lose this job, we're completely done. His words echoed in my mind like a terrible prophecy. The severity of the situation had finally hit him. I knew what he meant. If he lost the job, if he lost that safety net, everything they had built, everything they had tried to build with Madison, would crumble. The dreams of a house, a life together, a future. Gone. All of it would be gone. Then don't lose it. Show up on time. Do your work, I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. He needed to hear this. He needed the reality check. I'm trying, but we're so tired all the time. The apartment is freezing. The landlord won't fix the heat. Madison is sick because of the mold. I can't think straight. His voice trembled with exhaustion, and my heart broke for him. But part of me was still angry. I paused for a moment before responding. Have you considered that maybe Madison is not the right partner for you? The question slipped out before I could stop it. It hung in the air like poison gas. What? His voice was sharp, confused, and defensive. Think about it, Derek. Before Madison, were you happy? Were you stable? Think back before you met her, before this whole mess. Were you on track for promotion? Were you healthy? Were you living a life that you wanted? His silence spoke volumes. I could feel the anger rising in him. Don't do that. Don't try to blame her. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm asking you to evaluate whether this relationship is serving your best interests, I replied, my voice quiet but firm. She's my wife. His words were clipped, defensive, as if I had crossed an unforgivable line. Yes, a wife who helped you exclude your mother from your wedding, a wife who values appearances over substance, a wife who, from what I can see, has contributed very little to solving your current problems. The words came out of my mouth before I could think twice. They were harsh. Too harsh, maybe, but they were true. You don't know anything about our relationship, he replied, his tone darkening. I know you've aged 5 years in 2 months. I know you're about to lose your job. I know you're living in a moldy basement. And I know that before Madison, you were on track to be promoted to senior loan officer, I said, my voice steady now, as if I were stating simple facts. He was silent on the other end of the phone, and I knew he was processing what I had just said. He hung up without another word, but the seed was planted. I knew it would grow, whether he liked it or not. 2 days later, Derek's bank terminated him. Not for performance, officially. They called it restructuring. I knew better. I had made a call to an investor who sat on the bank's board. Just a suggestion that Derek might not be reliable long-term. Just a mention that his personal life was affecting his professional judgment. It wasn't much, just a small nudge in the right direction, but I knew it would be enough. Derek called me from his car. I could hear the background noise. Traffic, honking horns, the hum of the engine. He sounded distant, as if he were on another planet altogether. They fired me. I have 2 weeks severance. That's it. His voice was raw. I could tell the weight of it had finally hit him. I'm sorry to hear that, I said quietly, though I couldn't bring myself to fully mean it. He needed to take responsibility, but I didn't want to tell him that now. I wanted to let him sit with it. He needed to feel the full weight of his failure. Are you? Are you really? He asked, his voice sharp with bitterness. Of course I am. You're my son. Then help me. Please, Mom. I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll get on my knees if you want. Just make this stop. The desperation in his voice nearly broke me. I can't make anything stop, Derek. I'm not the one who fired you. But you know something. I can hear it in your voice. You're involved in this somehow. His words were soaked in paranoia, accusation. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Every door that should open slams shut. And you're the only one who benefits from watching us suffer. I don't benefit from your suffering. I simply refuse to rescue you from consequences you earned, I replied, keeping my tone even, trying to detach myself from the emotional weight of his words. We apologized. His voice cracked with frustration. Madison and I, we apologized. Why can't you just forgive us? No, Derek. You said words. Madison said words. But neither of you meant them. Neither of you understood what you did. An apology without understanding is just noise. My words were sharp, cold, like a blade slicing through the air. I had said them before, but now they felt more truthful than ever. Then tell me what I don't understand. Explain it to me like I'm a child. Make me understand so this can stop. There was a pleading quality to his voice now, a vulnerability that I hadn't heard in years. I thought carefully about my response. This moment was pivotal. This was the first time Derek had asked to understand, rather than demanding to be forgiven. It could be a turning point. Do you know what it's like, I said slowly, carefully, to sacrifice everything for someone, to pour your entire life into making sure they have opportunities you never had, only to be told you're not good enough to stand beside them in their moment of joy? It was just photos, Mum. His voice was defensive again, but quieter this time. It was never about photos, Derek. It was about worth. You and Madison decided I had no worth, that my presence would diminish your special day. You reduced me to an aesthetic problem to be solved by excluding me entirely. I didn't think of it like that, he said, his voice small now, as if the air had been sucked out of him. That's the problem, Derek. You didn't think at all. You didn't consider how your actions would make me feel. And now you're living in a world where people make decisions about you without caring about your feelings or your worth. How does that feel? He was quiet for a long time, a long, painful silence. Then, at last, he spoke. It feels terrible. Good, now you're learning. There was a flicker of something in me, a tiny spark of hope. Maybe he would get it. Maybe he would change. So what happens now? He asked, his voice weak. That depends on you, I said. What do you want from me? His words were tentative now, as if he were afraid of the answer. I want you to prove you understand, not with words, with choices, with actions that show you've actually changed. How do I do that? He sounded lost, so lost. You'll figure it out, or you won't. Either way, it's your decision. I ended the call and sat in the darkness of my living room. My chest felt tight, not with regret, but with something else. Anticipation, maybe. This was the turning point. Derek would either rise to the challenge or break completely. Part of me, the mother part, hoped he would rise, that he would find the strength to pull himself together and take ownership of his life. The other part, the part that had been hurt so deeply by his actions, almost didn't care. I had tried to save him, tried to warn him, but in the end, it was up to him. He would have to fight for himself. And in that moment, I realized something. I had spent my entire life trying to protect him, trying to save him from his own mistakes. But maybe, just maybe, this time, he needed to fall. He needed to hit rock bottom. Only then could he rise again. Only then could he truly change. Derek didn't call for a week. I tracked his movements through the small network of people who reported to me. He spent his days driving to job interviews across 3 counties. He returned to the moldy basement each night, looking more defeated than the day before. Madison's social media went dark. Not deactivated, just silent. No posts, no stories, no carefully curated glimpses of her life. That told me everything. She was drowning and had no energy left for performance. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Derek standing there with a single cardboard box. "I'm returning your garage key," he said. "We're moving our stuff out this weekend." "Where are you going?" "Madison's parents offered us their guest room. They're making an exception." "That's generous of them." "Yeah." He looked at his feet. "I also wanted to give you something." He opened the box. Inside were framed photos. Our photos. Derek as a child on his first day of school. Derek at his high school graduation. Derek and me at his college commencement. Pictures I hadn't seen in years because Madison had convinced him to pack them away for being too nostalgic. "I've been looking at these every night," he said, remembering. Remembering what? Everything you did, everything you gave up. I was 7 years old when you started your first cleaning job. Do you remember? I asked you why you had to work so late, and you told me you were building something for us, a future. You do remember that. I remember more than I let myself think about. I remember you missing your own birthday because you were showing properties. I remember you wearing the same 3 outfits for 2 years so I could have new clothes for school. I remember you crying in the bathroom when you thought I was asleep because you were so tired. His voice cracked. And I threw all of that away because Madison said you didn't fit the theme of our wedding. Yes, I said simply. You did. I don't have an excuse. I can't make it better. But I need you to know I finally understand what I did. Not because you told me, but because I felt it. Living these past months, being treated like I don't matter, being excluded and dismissed and judged, I felt what I made you feel. And I hate myself for it. Hating yourself doesn't fix anything. I know, but it's a start. He set the box down on my porch. I'm leaving Madison. The words hung between us like a grenade. Derek, I should have left her the day she suggested we get married without you. I should have seen who she really was. But I was blind because she was pretty and successful, and everything I thought I wanted. I chose surface over substance, just like you said. Marriage is not something to walk away from lightly. I'm not walking away lightly. I'm walking away because I finally see clearly. Madison doesn't love me. She loves what I represent. She loves having a husband who makes her look stable and complete. But when things got hard, she didn't fight beside me. She blamed me. She called me a failure. She said I wasn't man enough to take care of her. Did she hurt you? Not physically, but yeah, in every other way. He met my eyes. I deserve it, though. I hurt the one person who actually loved me unconditionally, and I did it for someone who only loved me conditionally. I wanted to reach out, to hug him, to tell him it would be okay, but I held back. This wasn't the end yet. What do you need from me? I asked. Nothing. I'm not here to ask for help. I'm here to tell you that I'm going to fix my own life. I'm going to find a job, any job. I'm going to save money. I'm going to prove to you that I learned something from all this. And maybe, if you ever decide you can forgive me, I'll have earned it. Derek, please don't say anything yet. I'm not ready to hear that you forgive me, and I'm definitely not ready to hear that you don't. Just let me do this. Let me prove it first. He turned to leave, but I stopped him. Derek, wait. He turned back, hopeful and terrified at once. Take the box with you. Keep the photos. Remember who we were before all this. That's important. He picked up the box, holding it like it was precious. Thank you, Mum. After he left, I sat on my porch for a long time. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. I felt something loosening in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the possibility of it. Maybe the first crack in the wall I had built. 2 days later, Tom Foster called me. Helen, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. Go ahead. Derek came to see me. He's filing for divorce. I know. He also asked me about his inheritance, about the conditions you put on it. And what did you tell him? I told him the truth, that right now, based on the terms you established, he would receive nothing. Good. Helen, are you sure about this? Cutting him off completely? I'm not cutting him off. The terms are clear. If he demonstrates responsibility, integrity, and genuine understanding of what matters, the inheritance is restored. If not, it goes to charity. He's devastated. He should be. He needs to understand that being my son doesn't automatically entitle him to anything. He has to earn it like everyone else. You're playing a dangerous game. I'm not playing anything. I'm being honest about what I value and what I expect. Tom sighed. I hope you know what you're doing. I do. But late that night, alone in my house, I wondered if I had gone too far. Derek had seemed genuine, seemed broken in a way that suggested real change. But I had been fooled before. Madison had seemed charming at first, too. No, I had to stay firm. This wasn't about punishment anymore. It was about ensuring that Derek truly understood what he had done and why it mattered. Actions, not words. Proof, not promises. The game was not over yet. 3 months passed. Derek moved in with a friend from college and got a job as a night manager at a grocery store. Not glamorous, but honest work. He called me once a week. Always brief, always respectful. He never asked for anything. Just checking in, he would say, making sure you're okay. I tracked his progress through my usual channels. The divorce was messy. Madison fought for alimony despite having no legal grounds. She tried to claim Derek had hidden assets, had promised her a certain lifestyle. It all fell apart when her lawyer discovered she had been cheating for the past 4 months with a photographer she met through work. Derek took the news quietly, signed the papers, and moved on. Madison, on the other hand, spiraled. She lost her social media following when someone leaked screenshots of her talking about her followers like they were idiots she was scamming. Her consulting business collapsed. Last I heard, she had moved back to her parents' house in another state. I felt nothing about her downfall. She had made her choices too. One evening, Derek showed up at my door with groceries. I remembered you like that specific brand of coffee, he said, holding up a bag. And I know you always run out of it because you forget to buy more when you're at the store. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. He paused. Can I come in? I stepped aside and let him enter. He unpacked the groceries, putting things away in their proper places like he still lived there. Like he remembered where everything went. I got a better job, he said. Assistant manager at a property management company. It's not much, but the owner is giving me opportunities to learn the business. He says if I work hard, I might be able to become a property manager myself eventually. That's good, Derek. It reminded me of you, how you started small and built something. I want to do that too. We sat at my kitchen table drinking coffee. It felt almost normal, like the years before Madison, before the wedding, before everything broke. I've been thinking about something, Derek said, about what you said about proving I understand. I think I finally get it. Tell me. It wasn't just about the wedding. It was about respect, about recognizing what you sacrificed and honoring that. But more than that, it was about seeing you as a whole person, not just as someone who existed to serve my needs. Go on. I treated you like a resource, like a bank I could withdraw from whenever I needed something. I never thought about what you needed or wanted. I never asked about your life, your dreams, your feelings. I just assumed you would always be there, always helping, always giving. And when Madison told me you weren't good enough for our wedding, I agreed, because I had already decided you weren't important enough to consider. He looked at his hands. That's the real sin, isn't it? Not the wedding itself, but the mindset behind it. The belief that you were less important than my wife's Instagram aesthetic. I felt tears prick at my eyes, but didn't let them fall. Yes, that's exactly it. I'm sorry, Mum, really sorry. Not because I want you to forgive me or give me money or help me. I'm sorry because I hurt you and you didn't deserve it. You deserved better from me. Thank you, I said quietly. We sat in silence for a while. Then Derek stood up. I should go. I have an early shift tomorrow. Derek, wait. He turned back. I'm proud of you, I said. For the work you're doing, for the changes you're making. I see them, and I'm proud. His eyes went bright with tears. That means everything to me. After he left, I called Tom Foster. I want to revise Derek's inheritance terms. Softening them? No, making them more specific. I want to set up a trust that he can only access if he continues demonstrating the values I care about: responsibility, integrity, hard work, respect. And I want him to know about it. Not the details, but the framework. I want him to understand that what he builds, he keeps. What he earns, he deserves. That's a significant change in approach. It's the right approach. I was testing him to see if he would break or grow. He's growing. Now I need to reward that growth while still maintaining standards. When do you want to tell him? Not yet. Let him prove it for another 6 months. Make sure this is real and not just a performance. But I knew it was real. I could see it in how he carried himself, how he spoke, how he lived his life. Derek had been broken down and rebuilt into something stronger, something better. The question now was whether I was ready to let go of my anger and embrace what he was becoming. 6 months later, Derek called me on a Saturday morning. Mom, I need to show you something. Can you meet me at the coffee shop on Main Street? Is everything okay? Everything is fine, better than fine. Just meet me. I arrived to find Derek sitting at a corner table with a folder. He stood when he saw me, pulled out my chair, and waited until I was seated before sitting down himself. Small things, but they mattered. I've been working on something, he said, opening the folder. A business plan. For what? Property management. My boss is retiring next year and he's offered to sell me the business. Not the whole thing at once, but a payment plan that I could actually afford. He spread papers across the table. Financial projections, marketing strategies, client retention plans. It was thorough, detailed, intelligent work. I've been saving every penny from my salary. I've been taking online courses in business management and real estate law. I've been building relationships with property owners and learning what they need. And I think I can do this, Mum. I think I can build something real. I studied the numbers. They were conservative but realistic. His projections showed slow, steady growth. Nothing flashy, nothing risky. The kind of plan someone builds when they understand that real success takes time. This is good work, Derek. I learned from the best, he smiled. I know I can't ask you for money. That's not why I'm showing you this. I'm showing you because I want you to see that I'm serious, that I'm building the kind of life you always wanted for me, the kind of life based on substance, not surface. I can see that. There's something else. He pulled out another paper. I've been volunteering at the community center on weekends, teaching financial literacy to single parents. Most of them are women who remind me of you. Working multiple jobs, trying to build something for their kids, never getting a break. Derek, I'm not doing it for credit or recognition. I'm doing it because it's right, because I finally understand what you were trying to teach me all along. That the measure of a person isn't how they look or what they own, but how they treat others and what they build with their own hands. I reached across the table and took his hand. You've learned well. Does that mean you forgive me? I forgave you months ago, Derek. I was just waiting to see if you would forgive yourself. He broke then, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry, Mum. For everything. For all of it. I know, baby. I know. We sat there in that coffee shop holding hands across the table like he was a child again. Other customers glanced at us curiously, but I didn't care. This was my son, my boy, finally becoming the man I always knew he could be. I want to help you with the business, I said after a while. Mom, no, I need to do this myself. I'm not giving you money. I'm offering to co-sign your loan with the stipulation that you pay every penny yourself. And I'm offering my expertise as someone who built a property empire from nothing. You'll do the work, make the decisions, and take the risks. I'll just be there if you need advice. Are you sure? I'm sure, but there are conditions. Of course there are. He smiled through his tears. You pay market rate for my advice. You never take me for granted. You remember where you came from and who helped you, and you promise me that if you ever have children, you'll teach them what you've learned about respect and gratitude. I promise. All of it. I pulled out my phone and called Tom Foster right there in the coffee shop. Tom, I need you to revise Derek's inheritance status. Full restoration, effective immediately. Helen, are you certain? I've never been more certain of anything. After the call, Derek looked at me with confusion. What inheritance status? We'll discuss it later. For now, let's talk about this business plan. Section 3 has some weaknesses we need to address. We spent the next 2 hours going through every detail. Derek took notes, asked intelligent questions, and pushed back when he thought I was wrong. Not disrespectfully, but confidently. He had grown a spine somewhere along the way. When we finished, I paid for our coffee and we walked outside into the spring sunshine. Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you do it? The whole thing with the apartments and the job and everything else. Was it really just about teaching me a lesson? I thought about my answer carefully. At first, it was anger. Pure, simple anger at being dismissed and excluded. But somewhere along the way, it became something else. It became about saving you from yourself. What do you mean? You were on a path, Derek. A path where appearances mattered more than reality, where charm mattered more than character. Madison was just one symptom of a bigger problem. If I hadn't stopped you, if I hadn't forced you to confront what you were becoming, you would have ended up 50 years old with money but no substance, success but no meaning. You would have been empty. So you destroyed my life to save it? I didn't destroy your life. I destroyed the false life you were building. The real you, the person you are now, that's who you were always meant to be. I just cleared away the debris so you could find yourself. He hugged me then, right there on the street. A real hug, the kind that means everything. I love you, Mom. I should have said it more. I should have shown it more. But I love you. I love you too, baby. Always have, always will. We stood there for a moment longer, then separated. Derek had to get to work, and I had properties to check on. Life moved forward, as it always did, but something had shifted. Something fundamental had been repaired. Not perfectly, not without scars, but repaired nonetheless. 1 year later, I stood in Derek's new office watching him conduct a meeting with a potential client. He was professional, knowledgeable, confident. The client signed a 6-month contract, and Derek walked them to the door with a handshake and a smile. Not bad, I said when we were alone. Not bad yourself. That advice you gave me about the pricing structure saved me from undervaluing my services. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe. But your help got me there faster. His business was thriving. 15 properties under management, 3 employees, and a reputation for honest dealing that was spreading through the community. He worked long hours but never complained. This was his, built with his own hands and decisions. Mom, I wanted to talk to you about something. What's that? I've been thinking about expanding. There's a small apartment complex for sale on the east side. 12 units, good bones, but it needs work. I was thinking about buying it as my first investment property. That's ambitious. I know, but I've been running the numbers, and I think I can make it work. I'd have to take out a significant loan, and I'd have to do a lot of the renovation work myself, but the long-term return would be solid. Show me the numbers. We spent the afternoon going through his analysis. He had done his homework, projected every expense, planned for contingencies. It was risky but not reckless. The kind of calculated risk that builds wealth over time. I think you should do it, I said finally. Really. Really. But I want to add something to the deal. What? I want to invest as a partner, 20% equity in exchange for 20% of the capital you need. You'll maintain controlling interest, but I'll be there to provide guidance and support. Derek stared at me. Mum, that's a lot of money. It's an investment in your future, and mine. I'm not getting any younger, and I need to start thinking about legacy. What better legacy than helping my son build something real? I don't know what to say. Say yes and let's draw up the papers. He said yes. 3 months later, we closed on the property. Derek threw himself into the renovation work with a fervor that reminded me of myself at his age. He was there every morning at 6, working until dark, learning plumbing and electrical and carpentry. I visited regularly, offering advice and occasionally picking up a paintbrush. You don't have to do this, Derek said one evening, as we painted a hallway together. I want to. This is fun. Fun? You're 63 years old painting walls at 7 in the evening. Best part of my week. And it was. Working beside my son, building something together, talking about life and business and lessons learned. This was what I had wanted all along. Not control, not revenge, but partnership, mutual respect, love expressed through actions instead of just words. The apartments filled quickly. Derek's reputation for fair dealing and prompt maintenance attracted good tenants who paid on time and took care of the property. By the end of the first year, the complex was turning a modest profit. We did it, Derek said, looking at the quarterly report. Actually did it. You did it, I just helped. No, Mom, we did it together, and that means everything to me. Tom Foster called me that evening. Helen, I have the final papers for Derek's inheritance. Everything is structured exactly as you wanted. When the time comes, he'll receive everything with no restrictions, no conditions, just a transfer of wealth from mother to son. Good, but let's hope that time is far in the future. I'm not ready to go anywhere yet. I should hope not. You're healthier than half my clients who are 20 years younger. After we hung up, I sat in my living room, looking at photos of Derek. Old ones from when he was a child, newer ones from the business opening, recent ones of us working together on the apartments. A life documented in images. Madison had said I wasn't pretty enough for wedding photos, but looking at these pictures, I saw something better than pretty. I saw strength, I saw love, I saw legacy. Pretty fades, legacy endures. 2 years after the wedding that wasn't, Derek called me with news. Mum, I'm seeing someone. I wanted you to know before it gets serious. My stomach tightened. Tell me about her. Her name is Rachel. She's a teacher at the elementary school near my office. We met when she came in asking about renting a small house we manage. We've been dating for 3 months. Why are you just telling me now? Because I wanted to be sure first, sure of her, sure of myself, sure that I wasn't making the same mistakes, and because I wanted to ask your permission before I took it any further. You don't need my permission, Derek. You're a grown man. Maybe not need, but I want it. Your opinion matters to me. Your approval matters. I'm not going to build a life with someone who doesn't respect you or who you don't respect. I'd like to meet her. I was hoping you'd say that. Dinner at your place this Saturday. Saturday works. I spent the week preparing, not obsessing, just being ready. I cleaned the house, planned a simple but nice meal, and reminded myself not to be prejudiced. Rachel was not Madison. She deserved a fair chance. Saturday arrived. Derek and Rachel showed up at 6 with flowers and wine. Rachel was medium height, brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweater. No designer labels, no perfect makeup, no performance. Mrs. Patterson, it's so nice to meet you. Derek talks about you constantly. Please call me Helen, and it's nice to meet you too. We sat down to dinner, and I watched them interact. Derek was attentive, but not fawning. Rachel was warm, but not trying too hard. The conversation flowed naturally, touching on her work teaching second grade, his expanding business, and shared interests in hiking and old movies. Derek told me about what happened with his first marriage, Rachel said during dessert. I hope you don't think I'm prying, but I wanted to say that I understand why you did what you did. I set down my fork. Do you? My mother died when I was 16. Before she passed, she made me promise that I would never let anyone make me feel small or unimportant. She said that people who truly love you will never ask you to diminish yourself for their convenience. Your mother was wise. She was, and I think about that promise every day. When Derek told me how he excluded you from his wedding, I told him straight out that I could never respect a man who would do that to his mother. But then he told me about everything that happened after, about how you taught him consequences, and how he grew from it. That's when I knew he was worth my time. What did you think of his methods? I asked, curious. Your methods, she corrected gently. And honestly, I thought they were harsh but necessary. Sometimes people need to fall before they can learn to stand properly. Derek smiled. I told you she'd understand. After dinner, Rachel helped me clean up while Derek took a phone call outside. We worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes before she spoke. Helen, I need you to know something. I'm not going to come between you and Derek. Family is important to me. My students come from all kinds of backgrounds, but the ones who thrive are the ones with strong family support. I want to be part of a family, not a wedge in one. That's good to hear. And if Derek ever suggests excluding you from something because of how it looks or fits some image, I'll kick him to the curb myself. I laughed. Actually laughed. I think you and I are going to get along just fine. I hope so. Derek loves you so much. He lights up when he talks about working with you, learning from you, building things together. I want to be part of that, not a disruption to it. Derek came back inside, and we spent the rest of the evening playing cards and telling stories. When they left around 10, Derek hugged me at the door. So, what do you think? I think she's wonderful. Hold on to this one. I plan to. After they left, I sat on my porch watching the stars. The anger that had driven me for so long was completely gone now, replaced by something softer. Not weakness, but contentment, peace. Derek had learned his lesson. He had grown into the man I always hoped he would become. And now he had found someone who would support that growth instead of undermining it. The revenge was over. The healing was complete. The wedding invitation arrived 6 months later. Cream-colored paper, elegant script, nothing ostentatious. Helen Patterson, you are invited to celebrate the marriage of Derek Patterson and Rachel Chen. I called Derek immediately. I got the invitation. And? It's beautiful, simple, elegant, perfect. Rachel designed it herself. She said she wanted it to reflect who we really are, not who we think we should be. When do you need my RSVP? Mom, you don't need to RSVP. You're not a guest, you're family. Rachel already has you listed as honored family in the program. Front row, center seat, no questions, no negotiations. My throat tightened. Thank you. No, Mom. Thank you for everything. For not giving up on me when I didn't deserve your patience. For teaching me what matters. For being exactly who you are. The wedding was small, held in a park pavilion on a crisp October afternoon. 50 people, mostly teachers and business associates, and Derek's old friends. Madison was notably absent, which was fine with everyone. I sat in the front row wearing a dress I bought specifically for the occasion. Not expensive, not designer, but nice. Rachel's father sat beside me, a kind man who had also lost his wife and understood the weight of being a parent at your child's wedding. When the ceremony began, Derek stood at the altar looking nervous and happy. Rachel walked down the aisle with her father, both of them smiling through tears. It was beautiful in its simplicity. No social media photographers, no elaborate decorations, no performance. Just two people promising to love each other in front of the people who mattered most. During the vows, Derek looked at Rachel and said, I promise to never let appearances matter more than substance. to never value image over integrity, to build a life with you based on what's real and lasting. Rachel responded, I promise to honor your family as my own, to never ask you to choose between love and convenience, to stand beside you in building something meaningful together. When the officiant said, you may kiss the bride, Derek did, and everyone cheered. At the reception, Derek gave a speech. Most of you know I was married before. Most of you know it ended badly. What you might not know is that I was the problem in that marriage, not my ex-wife. I was shallow, selfish, and stupid. I valued the wrong things and hurt the person who loved me most. He looked at me. My mother taught me a hard lesson. She could have enabled my bad choices, could have rescued me from consequences, could have let me continue down a path that would have destroyed me. Instead, she loved me enough to let me fail, to let me struggle, to let me learn what matters. Mom, I'm only standing here today, as the man Rachel chose to marry, because you refused to let me be less than I could be. Thank you for your tough love. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for never giving up on me. He raised his glass. To my mother, who taught me that real love sometimes looks like letting go so someone can find themselves. I couldn't stop the tears then. Good tears, healing tears, tears of joy and relief and profound gratitude that we had made it through the darkness into this light. Rachel came over and hugged me. Thank you for raising such a good man. I promise to take care of him. He'll take care of you too. That's what partnership means. I know. He learned from the best. The evening wound down around 10. Derek and Rachel left for a small honeymoon, just a long weekend at a cabin in the mountains. Nothing elaborate, nothing meant to impress anyone, just time together. I drove home alone, content in a way I hadn't been in years. The house was quiet when I arrived, but it didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful. I made tea and sat on my porch, watching the neighborhood settle into night. A dog barked somewhere. A car drove past. Normal sounds of normal life. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Thank you for being there today. Thank you for everything. I love you, Mom. I typed back, I love you too, son. Enjoy your honeymoon. Another message came through, this one from Rachel. Thank you for welcoming me into your family. I promise to honor what you've built with Derek. You raised an incredible man. I smiled and responded, welcome to the family, Rachel. Take care of each other. I sat there for a long time, sipping tea and thinking about the journey from that phone call 2 years ago to this moment. The anger, the revenge, the calculated destruction of Derek's false life, the slow rebuilding into something real and lasting, the forgiveness and healing and new beginning. Some people would say what I did was cruel. Maybe it was. But cruelty with purpose can sometimes be kinder than enabling someone's self-destruction. I had watched my son become someone I didn't recognize, and I had made the choice to break him down so he could rebuild himself properly. It had worked. Derek was happy now, genuinely happy with a partner who valued substance over surface. He had a business he built with his own hands. He had integrity, character, purpose. He had become the man I always knew he could be. The revenge was never about punishment. It was about transformation, about forcing someone to confront their worst self so they could become their best self, about loving someone enough to let them fail so they could learn to succeed properly. I finished my tea and went inside. Tomorrow I would call Derek and Rachel, maybe make plans for dinner next week. Tomorrow I would work on the properties, meet with tenants, handle the business of living. But tonight, I would rest in the knowledge that my son was happy, healthy, and whole. The wedding photo arrived 2 weeks later. Derek and Rachel smiling at the camera, genuine joy on both their faces. And there, in the front row, visible behind them, me. Not hidden, not cropped out, not excluded. Present and honored. I framed that photo and put it on my mantle, right next to all the other pictures of Derek through the years. A complete story, from birth to now, documented in moments of love and growth and sometimes painful learning. Madison had said I wasn't pretty enough for wedding photos, but I was in these photos, and they were beautiful. Not because of aesthetics or carefully curated images, but because they told the truth. They showed a family that had been broken and healed, a mother and son who had fought through darkness to find each other again. Pretty is just surface. This was substance. This was legacy. This was love expressed in its truest, most lasting form. I stood at my mantel, looking at that photo, and felt nothing but peace. The anger was gone. The hurt had healed. What remained was strong and unbreakable and real. Derek had learned his lesson. More importantly, he had learned who he was and who he wanted to be. And I had learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone struggle through their own consequences until they find themselves. We were both better for it. We were both whole. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. I asked my son when the wedding would be. His wife laughed and said, "We already got married. Only pretty people were invited." A week later, he called, begging for help after they got kicked out. I said, "It's only the start." Now, years later, watching my son build a real life with a woman who values what matters, I understand that every painful step was necessary. Every hard choice was worth it. Every moment of revenge was actually an act of love disguised as justice. Sometimes you have to tear someone down to help them build themselves back up properly. Sometimes you have to let them fall to teach them how to stand. And sometimes the cruelest thing you can do is exactly what someone needs to finally wake up and see themselves clearly. Derek saw himself. He didn't like what he saw, so he changed. That's all I ever wanted. Not revenge, not punishment, just transformation. And I got it.